In this episode, the love-hate relationship between the hip and the knee. Oh, they're in love.
But they hate it, precious.
The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 267 of The Daily Mother Swole. Now we're in landscape mode, and if you turn your phone sideways, you can catch both of the gains. You can catch Mount Everest and K2 both on your screen. So thank Facebook for that nice, sweet update. Welcome to the most muscular podcast in the realm. When I flex, you flex, we all flex. Motherfucking biceps. Thank you for watching live on Facebook every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, catching every episode on YouTube, and those that don't like the beard, don't like the hair, just don't want to look at shit. They just want to hear the gains, get their ears fucking yoked. You can catch every episode on the podcast, SoundCloud, iTunes. You can also catch me on Instagram, Snapchat. Papa Swolenormous is everywhere. Just type in Swolenormous and you'll see all of this. So, good shit. Today's episode is a little bit extra on yesterday. We talked about the core. You remember I was outside on the park bench and I was dropping knowledge bombs, at the park. Today, more knowledge bombs dropped. I am going to slaughter all y'all bitches, and we're going to talk more about the core, but we're going to stem downward. So yesterday we were kind of talking about what the core was, some of the best exercise to work the core, and kind of get everyone up to speed, because some of you have been watching me for a year. Some of you might be watching me for the first or second time today. I have to get you up to speed. I can't assume that you're going to go watch every single episode, which you should. That's pretty gangster. But you can always go back and, pick and choose. But today, we're going to go a little bit more into the core, but we're going to go down south. We're going to go all in. We're going to go deep. We're going to go hard. And we're going to fucking kill it. The core, we talked about yesterday, the core is the pelvis to the cervical spine. The core is the center of the body. The core controls everything. Yes, done, stamp of approval. Today's episode is the love-hate relationship between the hip and the knee. And I want to reiterate that the body wants balance. The body wants homeostasis. The body wants balance with temperature, with sweating, with heart rate, with respiratory rate. It wants balance with water retention. Your body wants balance with muscular tension. Your body wants balance everywhere. This is why I always talk about doing yoga and starting a quality yoga protocol, because your body wants balance and it helps your body find it. When you balance out the tension, when you strengthen weaker muscles, when you relax and inhibit tight muscles, you will feel more physically and more mentally balanced, and it helps you in all areas of your life, including strength and muscular development. So that is an undisputed fact, and that's what we've talked about all the time in almost every single episode. That's pretty much a running theme in the entirety of Swolenormous and the Daily Swole. The love-hate relationship of the hip and the knee, what we're talking about now is the specific relationship and how the hips affect the knee and vice versa. The reason why this is a main concern and the reason why it's a love-hate relationship is that your body goes through different positions. Your body goes into different joint positions throughout the entire day. You will be sitting down, you'll be standing up, you'll be walking, you may even be running, you may even be stretching, I hope. The reason why this is important is some of you are doing the same thing on a regular basis every day. You're sitting down all the time every day. You are in the car a lot all the time, every day. Commutes. I talk to some people that commute 2 hours every fucking day, an hour each direction. That's ridiculous. But sometimes it's just what you got to do. It's life and you got to get it done. If you're sitting down, if you're sedentary, if you're very sedentary, that is called a repetitive movement. It doesn't matter if you're not moving, it's just a repetitive action. Your hip is in flexion. And what this does is it creates an imbalance of tension in that joint. And the hip is meant to go in all different sorts of directions, just like the shoulder. It's a ball and socket joint. The thigh is meant to come up towards the chest. It's meant to cross over the other leg. It's meant to go out to the side. Abduction, move away from the body's midline. It's meant to push back when you feel your glutes squeezing. That's what helps your gait. That's what helps you walk and locomotion. So your body is meant to go through a lot of, the hip joint specifically is meant to go through an array of different motions. When you're sitting down too much, when you're sitting down at a desk, when you're sitting down on the couch, when you're sitting down in the car, you're doing one specific action way too much over and over and over again. And what happens is that nice little scale, that one that your body creates, theoretically, that has this balance becomes very imbalanced. Your hips get very, very tight because they're always shortened and those muscles get very petrified and stiff. And the muscles on the other side, which are the glutes on the back side, get very inhibited and shut down and over lengthened. So you have this neural imbalance, this neural and a physical imbalance. I want you to think about, if you remember, you might know certain people's phone numbers. You might know your mother's phone number, your boyfriend or girlfriend. You might know your home phone number, but or a cell phone number, but you might remember a couple of numbers. The equivalent and the analogy I'm going to make here is that because of this imbalance, your brain loses communication with the glutes. Your brain loses the glutes phone number. The brain wants to communicate with the glutes, but it can't remember the phone number. So what we have to do is to have to create that balance by turning those glute muscles back on. We have to remind the brain how to contact the glutes and how to innervate the glutes in order for that balance to be regained. Because what happens when you have an imbalance in a joint, you have a weakened joint. When there's no balance or less balance, that means that the muscles aren't working and stabilizing the way they should, and it can lead to injury, it can lead to tendonitis, it can lead to labral tears or ligament strains or sprains. It can lead to all sorts of different things, including, even if it's not an injury, it will lead to a decrease in force output, strength production, which can and often leads to a decrease in the potential for building muscle. So it's not just pain and injury, it's also lack of performance and muscle development. So if you're trying to get bigger, you need balance. If you're trying to get faster or jump higher or have better performance, you need balance. And you need balance in the right way. And every muscle has its own strength levels and length capacity, and you need to help your body regain that and figure that back out. Now, the way that this hip area, region, this fucking hip gangsta relates to the knee is that the knee is below the hip. The knee is attached to the hip. The knee bone is attached to the hip bone. You remember that song? The arm bone's connected to the leg bone and all that bullshit. Well, the body is all connected. It's connected by bones, ligaments, tendons, fascial connective tissue. And because you may have an unstable hip, that makes every joint that branches out from the core above. That's why the lower back is at risk when we talk about the hips being unstable. And that's why the knees are at risk, because from the base of that pyramid, branching down and above, if the foundation, like the foundation of a building, if the foundation of a building is cracked, it might even be condemned because it's dangerous. If the foundation is weak, your knees are at risk. Your knees are at risk for knee valgus, bending in and shear stress. Your ACL is at risk. You're at risk for jumper's knee and runner's knee, tendonitis. You're at risk for all those chronic nagging inflammation injuries and pains because of improper patellar tracking, because you have a couple muscles that cross both the knee and the hip joint. You have the rectus femoris, which is the longest muscle of the quad that crosses the hip. Above at the hip, it brings the thigh up towards the chest and also crosses the knee and it goes into the patellar tendon. You also have some of the hamstring muscles. The hamstring muscles cross the knee joint and the hip joint on the backside. So you have some muscles that actually cross more than one joint. They're called, big surprise, two joint muscles. And this means that they have a larger impact in articulating and creating balance at those locations. So when you're sitting down, think about how dangerous it is to sit down. When you sit down, you tighten up the muscles on the front of the hip. You're also weakening the muscles on the back of the hip, on the hamstring side, like on the glutes and the hamstrings. You're also tightening the hamstrings where they insert at the knee because the knee is in flexion. So you have a very interesting dynamic on both ends. When you're sitting down, the front of your hip gets tight, and by the tendon, where the patella is by the knee, gets very lengthened. And on the back end, the opposite. It gets very lengthened by the hip, and on the back of the knee gets very tight at the insertion. So you have this imbalance that's being created because you're not supposed to sit that long. If you look at indigenous tribes, they squat and they go in a deep squat and they kind of huddle, by a campfire and they tell stories for 5-6 hours. They sit there for a long time and that's comfortable. That's actually the position that the human body is supposed to go to the bathroom in. That's the actual position the human body is supposed to sit in, a deep squat with the heels down. Most people can't do a full squat or a yogi squat with the heels down, without the feet flattening or without the hips coming up too high. And that is because of tight ankles and tight, hip and knee complex. So we have to create this balance. And that's why I referred everyone to my YouTube channel, my exercise list, doing the supine hip bridge, doing a proper plank, doing a single leg squat. Those exercises are very basic core activator muscles. And when I say core, I mean glute. You need to start firing your glutes. You need to start getting into more of a stretching program like a yoga class where you are activating the shutdown muscles and you are shutting down the muscles that are working too hard, that are too short. The hip flexors, you probably heard the phrase hip flexors. That includes the rectus femoris on the front of the hip. That includes the tensor fascia lata, the TFL that's on the front side of the hip, that actually inserts onto connective tissue that goes all across the knee, on the outside part of the knee. That is largely responsible for runner's knee, when you get that tendonitis on the side of the knee, the inflammation. When you have a weak core, when you have weak glutes, when you have weak hips, the knees fucking hate you. They hate you because when the hips are weak, the femur is less stable and it makes the knees a risky, more loose, more vulnerable joint. Let me explain this in as plain words as I possibly can. This is a perfect time to share this broadcast because I am about to lay the hammer down. When you have a stable joint, a joint that's meant to be stable, and it's weakened and it's put in an environment where it is exposed to more instability, you are going to get hurt. You're going to absolutely fuck your world up, and it could be something that you never completely recover from. When the hip is a mobile joint. The knee is a stable joint. The knee doesn't pivot. The knee doesn't rotate in all different directions like the shoulder and the hip. It's not supposed to. Your body very often alternates stable and unstable joints to maintain a global integrity. You don't have mobile. You don't have ball and socket joints all in a row because you're just going to have this spinning shit that's very unstable. You're going to get hurt all the time. You have stable ankle joint, kind of mobile, kind of in between. You also have a very stable knee joint. You have a mobile hip joint. You have more stable lumbar spine. You have more mobile thoracic spine. You have a mobile wrist joint, a stable elbow joint, a mobile shoulder joint. So it alternates, and your body creates this teamwork and this synergy of creating movement and stability by alternating mobile and stable joints. The issue comes into play when you stiffen, when you lock a mobile joint in place, when you're sitting down too much, when you're not moving the hips the way they're supposed to move. Your body is going to detour. If you're going down a street and there's a blockage, there's an accident, it's going to detour you around. You're still going to get to your goal, but you're going a different way. Your body does the same thing. When your body cannot get mobility out of the hip, it will look for mobility at the knee, and that is devastating. I'll say that one more time. When you immobilize the hip, when you don't have the mobility that you need at a joint like the hip, where you need mobility, where you're supposed to have mobility, where you're designed to have mobility, your body will detour and look for mobility elsewhere, like the lower back and, as in this episode, the knee, where it's not supposed to be mobile. And if that happens, you are fucked sooner or later. You're going to be pulling your hamstrings a lot. People that get repetitive hamstring pulls and tears, you're not fixing the problem. You're getting better. You have scar tissue. You still have the same tightness and imbalance. You're going to tear your hamstring again, or you're going to hurt your back, or worse. People that have knee sprains or ankle sprains or, chronic lower back pain. These are people that have, chronic lower back pain is chronic for a reason. You're not solving the fucking problem. It's not going away. You can't just rest and, the pain went away and go back to your daily life. It's going to happen again. Guaranteed. It's going to happen again. And it does. And it does. Almost everyone in this country has back pain at least once, and usually it's repetitive, or my back always hurts, or my neck always hurts. If you have a pain that won't go away, that's there over and nonstop, what the fuck do you think is going on? Your body is screaming at you, and eventually your body's going to get used to it or say, you know what, fuck this, I can't handle it anymore, and something's going to tear and something's going to rip. Your body is warning you. Pain is not to be ignored. Pain is a warning sign. Pain is your body talking to you. How you interpret it, or if you ignore it, or if you just, put it aside as, oh, you take some Tylenol or some Motrin, you're already screwed. You're already screwed. You have to solve the problem. 99 times out of 100, when people have a headache, they go and take Tylenol or Motrin. Chances are you're fucking dehydrated. You're not drinking water. Your body is fucking dying of thirst, and you're just taking a pill that dulls the nerve receptors so you don't feel the headache. And you go on being chronically dehydrated, and then you wonder why you have high blood pressure. You wonder why you have, aches and joints and inflammation, and you have heart disease, and you have all these fucking issues because you're not drinking water. You're slowly it's almost like you're trying to kill yourself by not drinking enough water, by not hydrating. So that is a little bit off topic, but it's the same principle. You need to start listening to your body. If you have pain, if you have chronic injury, if you know by just assessing your life, stepping back and looking like, wow, I commute an hour and a half every day to work. I'm sitting down, and I told my premium paid accountability group that we have here on Facebook, that private accountability group. We did this like 2 weeks ago. We talked about, and the homework assignment was to look at your life and break down on average how often you're sitting down in the entire day. And people are saying 6 hours, 8 hours, 10, 12 hours in a day. I'm talking including how much you sit down to eat. If you eat for an hour, that counts. If you're sitting in the car, that counts. If you're sitting on the couch, that counts. How much time from wake to sleep do you spend in a sitting position? And if you do this, you will be shocked at how often you're sitting down. And think about that. You're sitting down, let's say, for 12 hours a day. You go and work out maybe half an hour, 3 or 4 days a week without doing any yoga or stretching or balance or really core activation or, balancing techniques, and you think you're going to be fine. You're sitting down 12 fucking hours a day. You think even an hour a day is really going to fix everything? I mean, you need to do focused work on it. You're sitting down for 12 hours a day, and you think maybe, working out a couple days a week for half an hour, 45 minutes, is that going to get you results? Is that going to fix your problems? No, no. And if it does, it's going to take you a long time, and you might get hurt before then. You need to take action. You need to take consistent action to counterbalance the shit that you do. I'm not saying you have to quit your job. If you love your career and you love what you're doing, I'm not saying stop that. You might, at what you do, maybe you have to sit down because you need stability. You're doing, really fine work, or you're in a situation where you have to be in a sitting position. I get it. Sometimes you have a position where you need to sit for whatever reason. If it's, social standards, or it's for the exact job you're doing, you have to sit down. That's whatever. But you need to be aware of that and take the appropriate actions and the steps forward to counterbalance the potential injury, because you are at very, very severe risk, whether you think or feel it or not. I'm telling you for a fact, you are at very, very serious risk for an injury. Not talking about the heart health and just the overall musculature and osteoporosis, or, poor posture or back pain. You are at risk for an injury. Absolute risk for an injury. And yes, your body will adapt to being sedentary. Your body will adapt to being mobile. You need to create that balance by being more mobile and counteracting your daily habits. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 267 of The Daily Mother Swole, the most muscular podcast in the realm, and the only podcast when I flex, you flex, we all flex our fucking biceps. Thank you for joining me live on Facebook every day at 12 noon Eastern Time, listening on SoundCloud and iTunes, and catching all the episodes on YouTube. And I will be seeing some of my premium members in a few moments after this episode. I want to talk to you about daily habits again. I just want to kind of, shoot the shit a little bit and get into some detail. So anyone that needs accountability, that needs a helping hand in getting all this information organized into your program, all the behind the scenes, the latest things are coming out with my program that I'm releasing soon. All those updates and all those benefits happen in premium exclusively, my paid membership group. So you can sign up at Swolenormous.com, and also it will link you if you click the sign up button here on Facebook. It's only $4.99 a month. It's a sick deal. We do exclusive live broadcasts, Q&A, accountability meetings, nutrition, program design, and a lot of it's customized for what the people specifically need, because that's the benefit of getting the one-on-one with Papa Swolenormous. So we do a lot of Q&As, and people post up questions, post up form. We do form breakdowns based on the videos that people post from their own personal workouts. Super cool, great family, love it. And I'm going to see you guys in a few minutes in premium. And everyone else, thank you for joining me. I'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon Eastern Time, as I do every fucking day. for episode 268 of the Daily Swole. Catch you on Instagram, catch you on the Snap, catch you in the fucking steel factory. Peace out. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and fucking get it. Get it. Go. Go get it. Go now. Go. Shoot. Get on with your bad self.